Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to Nuggets of Noon. I am so glad today to be with my brother-in-law, William Bearfield. Now, most of you, or many of you at least, know him. He's been in our area and our church in Askevill, but I'm glad to have you with us today, William. We're sitting on one of his toys. It's a boat here in a marina here.
26-foot Sea Ray.
Wow.
It might be old, but it's well kept. It's a 1983, but she's runs like a scalded dog.
Well, I was thinking about when we came on here, I was thinking about the disciples being out on the Sea of Galilee, and they're going across and they're in the storm. And we mentioned about a storm yesterday. And but I thought about that and how Jesus said, "Peace, be still," and how everything was calmed down, and how the culture we live in, we're living in a stormy culture, whatever. But I was thinking with William here, if you don't know Chaplain Bearfield, he was a retired chaplain in the Army, and he's been through a lot of storms. And when I was conversing with him about being with us today, he said he had a perfect example of weathering a storm. Come on and share that with us today, William.
In Bosnia, at a camp called Red Cloud, they had a sergeant major. That's an E9. There's no E10 in the Army. That's the highest rank. Come through and say, put these anchors in your footings below your tent and tie your tent off, because the locals say there's going to be a storm. There always is a windstorm. And it was really quite fun, because I'm the only one who listened to him. Everybody else put their their anchors off to the side, just thinking, hey, we have beautiful weather, it rains a little. But in my desire to do the right thing, I put these bolts in to the anchor points, tied off my tent, and in the middle of the night, a few days later, maybe many days later, but days later, someone yelled out and woke me up, and they said, "Wake up the chaplain, we need the room." And I woke up, and my whole tent, because normally the chaplain has a tent to himself, or maybe to him and his bodyguard, but they needed the room. And as soon as I stood up, they folded up my cot. Nobody folds up your cot. Your fingers get pinched. Nobody likes to do that, okay? But they did it like that, just quick. And I'm standing there with a bunch of people. We're all standing close to each other, nose to nose, and there's a storm raging outside. When the storm ended, I have video of this. I took a video camera out, one of those old-fashioned ones. And there were people just standing in the mud. The hospital was crushed. I was in 212th MASH, a mobile Army surgical hospital. It was crushed, and patients were being ushered into my tent, and the soldiers were being forced to stand in the rain. And people could have just put the little lockdowns, it was like a screw with a loop.
So in other words, yours, because you listened to the officer and listened to what he said and bolted your tent down, yours stood firm in the storm, but they didn't listen and theirs went crash. Is that correct?
Pretty close. Everything you said, except for the fact that he was an officer. He wasn't an officer.
Oh, he wasn't an officer.
I was the guy who had the higher rank, but sometimes you have to have people tell you that are not your rank what to do right.
But the locals knew more than you did, right?
That's correct.
Well, I think the point that we need to make here is that God is the stabilizer in the midst of the storm. And if we will listen to him
Yeah.
when the storm comes, but because they wouldn't listen, they all had to go to where you were at because that's where safety was at.
And the storm comes. It's gonna come.
That's right.
I've had bumps and bruises, health issues, and you have prayed for me, and I have overcome them. I'm called the comeback kid in the military. The comeback kid. They even signed a certificate saying that. I've been on the brink of not existing, and God has done miraculous things, and I'm not worthy of them, but I'm going to accept them and continue in life.
But because you trust in the Lord,
Yeah.
because you've bolted down in Him,
Yes,
there's
I did.
peace.
I did what I was told.
That's right. And friends, let me say to you that the Word of God is what we're to listen to, and that is our buckling down. If we'll stick to the Word of God and listen to the Word of God, then when the storm comes, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Listen, thank you, William, for joining us today. I appreciate it. I love you, man. I appreciate his service. He served, for 25 years?
25 years.
25 years in the armed services, and we appreciate what he's done. But I'm sure that was just one example. Many storms you've been through, but God has given him peace, and he'll do the same for you and I as we trust in him. God bless you. We'll look forward to seeing you back on Monday. Bye-bye.